Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video you are going to learn how to modify a Tamiya TT-02 without spending a lot of money in order to make it a proper RC rally car. This video is possible thanks to my friend Bogdan that gifted me with his Tamiya TT-02. Before starting with the review of this chassis, just a reminder, please leave a like, subscribe and also leave a comment, because in this way you are going to help me to boost my YouTube channel. As you saw in my other videos that I'm going to leave in the description, the most important characteristic of a RC rally car is the steering angle. Using an upper deck, we are able to increase a lot the steering angle of almost any chassis, and on this Tamiya I already did the test in order to see how much space it needs in order to make a U-turn. And I've obtained a result of around 67 centimeters, which is actually good. Talking about the ground clearance of this chassis, Bogdan with his modifications was able to achieve a result of around 2.7 centimeters, which is also very good. Now let's start with the review of this chassis. I'm going to disassemble it, so you will be able to see the modification that you will need to do in order to achieve this result. Okay, let's start this review. My friend Bogdan did an amazing job on this chassis. He did a lot of experiments on it, as we can see, but the final result is very cool. Before starting to talk about the steering system and the other components of this Tamiya TT-02, I want to show something very interesting and let's say funny. As you know, this chassis is born as a touring chassis, so we have a weight distribution more prone into the rear, and in RC rally, in order to, let's say, be competitive and in order to have a car that is easy and fun to drive, you need to have a sharp front. So it's very important to, at least in this kind of chassis, to add some weight on the front. My friend Bogdan used this chassis as a test lab, and this is how he solved this problem. I love it. So, if you want to adjust the weight balance in a cheap way on your Tamiya TT-02, that's an idea. Okay, let's move on. Here on my channel, I already showed you other RC rally chassis that use an upper deck with a direct steering system. I'm referring to my Tamiya XV-01, the Tamiya XV-02, and also the Xray XB4. You're going to find the video in the description. Here on your Tamiya TT-02, you need to do the same. Bogdan used a carbon plate, but you can use also other materials like a 3D printed upper deck or an aluminum one. Okay, this is how the upper deck looks. You need to connect your upper deck to your chassis using the cover for the differentials, and then you have to create this space in order to place your servo. Unluckily, the battery just died while I was filming. By the way, the distance between these two holes is around 4.4 centimeters. Another important thing to keep in mind is this part. As I explained also in the other videos, the steering arm needs to have this angle. In this way, you are going to be able to maximize the steering angle. Let me show what I mean. Remember that in order to maximize the steering angle, the distance between this point of attachment of the steering arm and this one closer to the wheel is not the same. On this point we are around here, and then the steering arm is going a bit backwards. In this way you are going to be able to maximize the angle of this steering system. This distance is around 6.2 centimeters. Here we have around 2.4 centimeters. Now let's focus on this part of the chassis. Here you have to remove a lot of plastic in order to allow this component to move freely. This one is a 3D printed element, but you can replicate it also cutting by yourself a piece of carbon. This part that you can replicate also using a piece of carbon cut by yourself or something else allows to increase the movement of the steering arms. Then another thing to do in order to achieve a good steering angle is to buy some wheels with a good offset. Otherwise, they're going to touch with the front dampers. Also, the original CVD from TT-02, they're not good, and you will need to upgrade them. Increasing the steering angle and the movement of the suspension arms will make the original drive shaft useless. That's why you will need to upgrade them with these ones. On the front, Bogdan is using the ones from Racing, the 38mm version. Okay, now let's talk about how to increase the ground clearance. Let's move on the rear of the chassis. Talking about the shock tower, as you know, on the Tamiya TT-02, the shock tower, it's a component that keep in place the upper arm. What Bogdan did was to add, let's say, a random one in carbon in order to increase the height of the shock tower, allowing him to put longer dampers. Another thing that you need to do in order to increase the ground clearance, you need to change the upper arms with this item from Tamiya that I'm going to put in the description. Okay, now we have a better view and we can focus on two components, on the suspension arms and on the caster block. If I remember correctly, it's called in this way. In case, correct me in the comment section. Here I have the original component, which is this one, and I'm going to disassemble this one modified by Bogdan, and we will do a comparison. Also on the rear you will need to change the drive shafts. I'm going to put the link for these ones in the description. Okay, let's take a look. This one is the one modified by Bogdan, and this one is the stock one. What Bogdan did in order to increase the movement of this component between the lower and upper arms was to remove these parts. And he did the same on the front. Here and here we can notice the difference. Now let's take a look at the suspension arm. Unluckily, I don't have the original one, but we can make a comparison taking a look here. So that's how it looks, the original suspension arms, and this is the one modified by Bogdan. What he did was to remove all these parts in order to make the suspension arm smooth, and he added an additional hole here in order to place the rear damper. And on this side we can see what I mean. And now let's take a look at the front. Also here he had added an additional carbon tower in order to increase a few millimeters the position of the front damper. And taking a look at the suspension arm, he did the same of the rear, so he made it very smooth. And also here he made a modification. So on your Tamiya TT-02, just try to copy this system. Guys, I hope that I did a good job showing you this Tamiya TT-02 modified by my friend. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. And when the weather will get better, I will do also a test drive. But in general, what I can tell you is that I saw this chassis in action on a real RC stage 2 years ago, and it performs quite well. Of course, it's a Tamiya TT-02. You cannot do, let's say, a lot with it, but it's a very cheap and reliable chassis. Okay, I think that's all for today. Thank you for staying with me, and see you next week with a new video. Ciao!